There's a conversation that happens inside medical and law school admissions offices that most applicants never hear. It happens in committee rooms and in the margins of application files. It's the little moment a dean closes a folder and decides. I spent over 15 years in that room. This is GradMissions Office Hours. I'm Autumn Rains-Lockett, and every week my team and I bring that conversation out into the open because the process was never meant to be a mystery, and your future is too important for guesswork. Let's get to work. We're digging into the work of med school interviews. We're at the point in the cycle where our clients have wrapped up their secondaries and they are starting to get those interview invites. Morgan, I know your calendar is hopping.
It's getting there. We are working on mock interviews, and it's a really exciting time for these students because they've put in the work, and now it's time to go present their brand.
That's right.
Wow, that's optimistic. From the law side of the house, when I hear med interview, I get like terrified because, from the law school perspective, interviews are not, we always encourage students to request an interview, but they're not mandatory. And then on med side, it's like your interview is, I forget the percentage, but it's a very high percentage, correct, for your admissions probability?
It varies med school by med school. Like each med school sets their own index score with double AMC and also they build their own rank index score. But at some schools, it's as high as 80%. And that may sound strange, like, oh my gosh, I did all this work on my MCAT. What do you mean it doesn't matter? Well, yeah, you have to have the MCAT score to even be invited to interview. So like everyone in the interview space has a very similar MCAT GPA BCPM combo. Then they evaluate your application based on the core competencies, and then you've got this interview. So at some schools, it is as high as 80% of your final rank score.
Wow. Okay, so interviews really matter, and preparing for them is very, very important.
That's right. And I do want to say, like, speedy quick, that more and more of the top 40 law schools are requiring an interview of some capacity. So if you're a law person who stumbled into this med school interview episode, I think you're going to have some good nuggets here that will be helpful for you too. So if you want to stick around, we'll let you.
Absolutely.
I agree. I think with the med school interview, they're looking to see if you can be a future physician.
Yeah.
And they're looking for certain characteristics. And that's what law is looking for as well.
For sure.
So it does sound more intimidating on the med side, but it's not. It's the same.
It doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be if you prepare properly.
That's right.
Sure.
Very quickly, I want to introduce any of you who are our current clients to someone that if you're not on the law side of the house, you may not have met her yet. This is Morgan Hager. She is our interviewer in residence at GradMissions. She is a force. She is our networking guru. I was listening back to some of our very earliest episodes where it was just me and Lysanne. And every time we talked about networking, I was like a little spirit of Morgan was here in the room with us. So we talked about networking. But because of your expertise in this area, number one, and then number two, because by the time our clients get to the interview portion, they are very, very, very used to me, and I cannot make them nervous. And I would like for you to be nervous in your mock interview. And so, Morgan, what does it mean to you to be the resident interviewer at GradMissions?
I love hearing someone's story, and I think they have built through GradMissions, they've built a beautiful portfolio of who they are. And so getting to kind of get them across that finish line essentially I feel like it's an honor to be a part of that part of their journey. And it's fun. I've done interviews. I've read through a million applications, and I just understand what it means to present yourself well in an interview. And I think that's something that a lot of people have a hard time with. And so I think if they can take a deep breath and just realize they've put in the work. I mean, if you've done your secondaries with Logan, you've done your activities and experiences, then you have prepared for your interview, because that's what it's going to be about. It's going to be about them digging deeper into who you are as a person and hearing those stories in real time. And so it's an exciting time. It means you're so close. you're so close to the finish line. And so that's what I love about it is just being a part of that journey with the students.
I have some logistical questions about interviews because leave it to me to have the logistical questions. And I'm sure the answer to this is it varies, but what are the styles of interviews? Are they virtual? Are they in person? Is it with students? Is it with faculty? Is it with alumni? Is it a panel? Is it one-on-one? I mean, I'm sure there are 100 different varieties, but like, what are some of the things logistically that someone might expect from an
Is
interview?
it D, all of the above?
Would you,
Right.
could you in a box? Could you, would you with a fox? That's what I felt like we were, it was very Seussical there for a minute. Logan, I can tell you have a toddler in your house.
But you also
So,
forgot about the parking situation, which I feel like our personalities are always like, if it's in person, where do you go? And I know that's
can I
Yeah.
go and
school
cruise by there the
dependent.
night before and make sure I know what's going on? Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
And yes, you should. And you should find your parking spot the night before.
That's right.
That's what
So,
I would do.
it varies a little bit. There are a handful of MD programs who have gone back to interviewing in person post-COVID. Arizona, I'm looking at you. Most MD programs are still virtual, and many DO schools are in person, which makes sense, right? It's a holistic process. They want to see your whole body. In person, they want to breathe the same air as you. And so it sort of varies. It depends if you apply to a lot of DO schools, a lot of your interviews are going to be in person, or you will at least have the option for them to be in person. If you're applying to primarily MD, they're mostly going to be virtual outside of a few of them. And when it comes to the style, there are many different ones. So there's a more traditional panel interview where it could be you, a faculty member, a community doc, and a fourth year med student. That's a pretty traditional makeup of a panel interview. Now, even among the panel interviews, there are bifurcations in what that looks like. So in a panel interview, you still may get an MMI style question, a multiple mini interview, which is an ethical situational judgment style question. That's just not going to be the whole of the interview. And sometimes those panel interviews have read your whole application and they can see every single fact of it. Sometimes those interview panels have seen nothing of your application and they are just interviewing you because the admissions committee said this person needs an interview and they're going to do that and it's completely blind. Sometimes it's half blind. So sometimes you'll do 30 minutes of an interview, then with them knowing nothing about you, then you leave. Then they get to look at your MCAT, GPA transcripts, work and activities, and you come back in for 15 to 20 minutes and they get to ask you some specific questions about that. And the only way to know is to really like read up on the school. But as we were talking about before we hopped on here, sometimes leadership changes and those rules change. So your job is to come into that interview ready to present the best you possible, ready to represent your whole application, even if that committee hasn't had the chance to read it. So that's a panel interview. Then we have MMI, which is what I was discussing earlier, and that is just more, it's kind of like your Casper preview, it's situational judgment. And so if it's a virtual, what may happen is you're in a Zoom room, you're in the waiting room, in the little like the comment chat will pop up a situation. Like imagine you're in a doctor's office and you're treating a minor, but the parent disagrees with the best course of treatment. What do? You have a couple minutes to think about it. Then they're going to invite you into the Zoom room. There's going to be no preamble. There's going to be no like warm handshake. You just have to launch into what you would do in that situation. Med schools get to decide, and you're just sort of at their mercy.
Bummer.
Bummer.
There's also group interviews
Yes.
where
Yeah.
you can be in a group with other applicants. And at that time, they're evaluating, do you listen well? Do you work well with others? Do you take control? Do you respect the others in the room? And
With Shrinking Violet.
yes,
And some law schools do group interviews as
I was
well.
gonna say law schools definitely do group
Yeah.
interviews. And I think a group interview is it tells you so much about a person.
For sure.
I think group interviews are tricky. What are some of the things that you've seen from the other side of the table that like were great? Like how the student handles that being in a leadership role without overrunning other people. What are some things that you've seen there you're like, do not do this? And what are some things, the group interview that you've seen come across well?
Don't want to monopolize the conversation.
Yeah.
Like that is like the automatic disqualifier. You also don't want to sit and wait to be asked. You've got to find that like healthy balance between the two of those things.
There is a fine line, and you, like you said, don't want to be the shrinking violet, but you also don't want to be the one that everyone's like when they walk away. Can you believe that person?
Yeah.
They wouldn't let us talk. Be a good listener.
Have you ever shaken hands with somebody and they put their other hand on the other side of your hand and give you a little hand hug? Like, I love a hand hug. I think it's so lovely and warm. I think the group interview equivalent of a hand hug is saying the name of another person in the room.
Yes. Yes.
I want to
Huge.
add to what Logan just said, blah, blah, blah. Boy, if I'm an interviewer, I'm like, look at them paying attention. Look at them, like, especially if it's someone who's maybe been a little more quiet and they actually say something and you like notice that and then say that person's name and bring them in. Oh my gosh, I'm melting.
Yeah, even if you have to write it down, right? Even if you've got your little notepad in front of you and you're taking notes on what other people are saying, I love that. I love the callbacks to something they shared by name. I love that.
So can
So
we go back to virtual interviews real fast?
yes, I
Yeah,
wanted
I
to
have
add
so many questions about
there's
them.
another kind of virtual interview too that is asynchronous. There are some schools who have an asynchronous interview, even if it's like a pre-interview. And so they'll use like Cura Talent or something. And so they'll have a pre-recorded question, they'll ask you, and then you have like a certain amount of time to respond to it and stop. It's awkward because you like can't see the other person's face. You can't like judge like am I doing a good job or not. But that's just what's happening sometimes in these interview situations. So
Law
want to
schools are
prepare you.
also doing that
Mhm. Oh
as
yeah,
well.
lots of law schools.
In a virtual interview, can you have anything in the background? Can you have anything on your table, notes? Can you have anyone else in the room?
Yeah. You cannot have your virtual background on during, or even a blurred background on during a med school interview because there are security things at stake. They want to make sure no one's feeding you answers. They want to make sure that you're not recording this, that, many different things. So it is not unusual for a med school to have you do a security sweep of your room. So I think that is something that, our clients do 6 hours of prep before we do one mock interview. So we're a little over the top here at GradMissions. But that's why our students get in, right? 95% of them were admitted to at least one school in their top 10. So there's a reason behind that. But imagine this. So you have changed clothes 14 times before your interview to make sure you have like the perfect like tie, blouse, blazer combination ready. Please wear pants just in case you have to stand up. Okay. Like do not be in this isn't the mullet suit day. Like you need to be fully dressed, shoes on, ready to go. Plus your mindset's just different if you're fully dressed. Imagine that you've done this and you've piled all those clothes on your bed and then you're like here and like okay I've squared my computer screen so that admissions committee, those interviewers cannot see any of my mess, and then they're like okay, time to do a security sweep. Do we care that there's dirty laundry in your bed? No, but are you going to feel kind of ruffled about that? Yes.
1000%.
It's going to change the vibes for you. So just be prepared that you may have to show every nook and cranny of the room that you're interviewing in to the people on the other side of that camera.
I think if you have access to a room on campus, if you're undergrad, do it there because the Wi-Fi should be reliable, which you need to make sure.
Right.
And then you have control that there is nothing else in the room
That's
but
right.
you and a boardroom table.
Yeah. They typically do
The
not
study
like you to have
room.
paper out for notes either. They really don't want you like because you could have like your application there and then you're like staring at it and you're just not in that moment. You should know what you wrote. You can read it before you go in, but you really shouldn't have anything else out.
And it's your story, so you should know your story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you should be able to tell it and not have to be looking at notes. And no one wants to see the top of your head. They want to see you, your
That's
beautiful
right.
face. So what are some common questions? I think the number one, which is on any interview, tell me about
Be
yourself.
about yourself.
That'll be about, yeah.
You need that elevator pitch. You've got to have it.
You have to
And
have
that throws so many people, that being the first question.
my name is oh yeah, start with your name. I think that's always good. Even if you have a name that you think is easy to pronounce, they may not. So, hi, my name is Autumn Luckett. I'm da da da. And then in a perfect world, you have written out your elevator pitch, you have practiced it. We have our clients write it in a dry erase marker. They're like start talking points on their mirror so that when they're brushing their teeth morning and night, they're looking over kind of what their talking points are, not so that it can be like a rehearsed script, just because in that moment, you want that like original scaffold of who you are to be really dialed in, almost muscle memory. And then that is the one way that you can sort of put yourself in the driver's seat of the interview. You started off by saying the few things that you really want to highlight. Great, they're out there. And everything that comes after that is building on that scaffold that you already built.
Something that I've noticed with people answering this question is they don't tell me where they're from.
Yeah.
Tell me where you're from.
Yeah. Yeah.
That could be a connection point
Could be.
that you're missing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love to write a little joke in it when possible. Not like a yuck, 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 but just like a little moment of whimsy. A little moment of, so like we have a client right now who she has kind of a name that is based in her culture, and it's a little bit tricky to pronounce correctly. And so she was like, do I use my American version? Do I do this? Do I do that? And I was like, I think you say, this isn't her name, but I'm Pratima. Most of my American friends call me Pratty, and that's okay if you want to also. Like, it's not really a joke, but it's just like a moment of like, I'm human. I understand you may not get my name right, but like then you've got your name in there twice. They're gonna remember you. It just kind of like sets the vibes a little bit.
For sure. Another question that you are going to be asked. Why that school?
You need to know beyond just like their mission statement. If there's a geographical reason you're applying to that school, I love saying something like, this is the community that raised me. This is the community I want to serve. So it just makes sense for me to train here. Hard to
What
beat
are
that
your
answer.
thoughts on weather? I talk to so many students and they're like, I want to go to Florida because the weather is wonderful. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on using that in an interview?
I mean, I think it's a little thin.
Yeah.
I think same about a sports team. If that's the only connection point you have, I think, yeah, I'm from Minnesota and I just really need to thaw out for the next 4 years. I want to see if I can really live long term in the sunshine. Would love to stay where I train. That is one thing. A lot of these med schools are looking to bring in students who want to stay and work with that population. And you even like hinting that you may stay there beyond, into residency and beyond is going to be some points in your favor. I don't want you to lie. If that's not true, don't say it. But if you have any inkling of staying in that area, go ahead and say that because that's going to give you some points.
And I feel like you have to have an inkling or you wouldn't
Yeah.
be looking to go to that school.
That's right.
You also should know this answer backwards and forwards because of your secondary prep. You knew I was going to bring that up.
There she is, rattling her chains of secondary. This is why we had you do this.
Right.
Which is what I was going to say. Like the weather thing should not be the first answer,
Yeah.
but it can kind of go back to that little funny. But you could give that secondary answer that matches and then have a little funny something about weather or football or, whatever to make it kind of fun.
And I think to
Fun.
show you're a little human too.
Right.
Because you
Yeah.
are. And you don't want to be robotic and you don't
Yeah.
want to sound like everyone else. So it needs to be authentic and authentically you
That's
Yeah.
right.
and match your brand that you have written and displayed in all of your application.
I don't think it hurts to also say something specific about that school, a program,
Oh, for sure.
an
You have to.
opportunity, something that says that you have done the research and you don't have to be robotic about it, right? This is actually your opportunity to make it not robotic, to say, I saw on the website, or as I was learning more about this school, I noticed that. And that's something that I didn't see everywhere else. I think that's your opportunity to showcase that you have done the work and you are a serious applicant to this school, not just someone who thinks they're going to enjoy the nice weather.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. One thing I want to prepare you for beyond the questions themselves is the countenance of the interviewers. We have a social series that we're about to roll out, kind of prepping people for interviews. It is not unusual for your interviewer to give you absolutely no response. And I think you just need to prepare your heart for that because you're going to be anxious. You're going to want them to be like, you're so good on that, right? This is why I don't do our mock interviews because I'm like just so proud of you. And they may not say a word. they may not even look up before they ask you their next question because they will be taking copious notes. They will be looking, and your interviewers sometimes are just as nervous as you are. Like this may be their first time on the interview committee, or maybe they're a seasoned pro and they are just kind of like disinterested. Um, do not let your interview performance be based on or be impacted by the person sitting across the Zoom room for you. Hopefully, you get someone who's warm and fun and awesome. You may get someone who had to replace an organ last night in an emergency surgery, but boy, they had signed up to do this. This is part of their commitment to their school, so they have to be here. You just never know what's going on. Do not take it personally. Most of them have been trained. I used to have to train these interviewers to be more of a flat rock, because the other thing is we don't want to give you a false sense of like you're admitted. They're not going to tell you on the interview if you're admitted or not. Let me just tell you that right now. They can't. They don't know. A lot of times these interviewers are not even on the voting admissions committee. They are just serving as like a proxy, and then they report back to the admissions committees. I just want to manage your expectations around that. Get used to stopping your talking, which is not my forte. Stopping your talking, they're not going to give you a sign that like, okay, your answer is done. You have to say what you're going to say and then stop.
And it's okay if there's a little silence. You
Yeah,
don't have
there
to
will
fill
be.
it. You don't have to fill it. Talking to myself here.
Yes. Be okay with the silence. And I
Yeah.
think that's one of the points you hit on right there about you don't know what that interviewer did the night before
Yeah.
or prior to your interview. Medicine is hard. And they may have had to meet with a patient and give devastating news to a patient prior to this interview. And so I know doctors can compartmentalize a lot, but you have no idea what happened
Yeah.
prior. And so don't take it personally. Just go in there and be your best, your
Quick
best
hot,
self.
yeah. Quick hot take. I think some of the toughest interviewers that may shock you are the fourth year med students, because they are full of vim and vigor and they're like, I'm gonna just grill them. I think sometimes the docs that have been around for a while, the community docs are like, oh, like yay, next generation. So it can be sort of startling when you come into an interview, a panel interview, and you see like a young face there and you're like, oh, this is gonna be my guy. And then they just like totally grill you. Just be ready. It may not be what you expect.
All right, so I want to bring up your email from the other night that you sent, Autumn. You sent it to Logan and me about I I can't remember what the question was, but Logan had incredible answers immediately, and I never responded until my meeting the next morning because I
Okay.
was like, I
Let me
can't even.
let me search my email for Ringo Starr. Hand to God, that's what I'm searching for right now. Okay. So the med school question was, it was something to the effect of like, what is one thing that would disqualify you from being considered? Or what was it exactly? I don't want to open my TikTok because it's gonna like be really loud.
Yeah, it was something to the effect of what is something about you that you think could potentially make you not be admitted to the school.
Can you
That,
imagine ask that
yeah,
question in a med
Which
that
school?
the
was amazing.
comments on it were like, this is so unethical. I can't believe someone would ask this. And Logan immediately spats off in true Logan form three responses
Yeah.
that are mic drop responses.
First of all, in that instance, no matter how much you hate it, I mean, this is the same thing that we get grilled for when we're like, okay, these are the things that matter in a med school interview. And people are like, that's racist. That's so mean. That's ableist. And I'm like, okay, well, they've got 15,000 applicants. They are going to have a class of 197. Are you going to yell at them in that interview about that question being unethical, or are you going to answer the question? You get to decide. So, yeah, Logan comes out. Can I read these, Logan?
Sure.
Logan said that she would not go to that school if she was accepted. First of all, you should know that. I love the dramatic approach. We think that we would give a funny hot take, right? Like that Ringo is the best Beatle, or that Texas could secede from the Union, and be self-sufficient. Not that they should, but that they could. So amazing if you're one of our TMD SAS applicants.
Oh,
I
but I
like
think
the chili one might be my favorite though.
I have the strongest argument for that one. And let me tell you about it. If I was interviewing at a northern school, my response would be that it's not chili if there are beans in it. And I will die on that hill. It's delicious. I'm not saying
It's
that
a
it's not
soup, though.
delicious. It's a soup or a stew, not chili. Chili
Chili?
has no beans in it.
No, it's just beef.
Yes, and
Honest.
that's a hot take. And that might not get me admitted to a medical school, but I will die on that hill and I'll fight somebody about it.
But I think this is a perfect example of being your true authentic self and answering a question. You answered it perfectly. You answered it on the spot, and they can't get mad and they can't say you had it wrong because
Because it's a ridiculous question.
yes.
Ask
But
a
you gave
ridiculous
a
question,
really
get a
good hot
ridiculous
take.
answer.
Yes.
The student's response was something about the MCAT. Like, I felt like maybe he didn't submit his MCAT score or something.
Oh, it was because it was a blind interview. And so they said they're going to figure out my scores at some point. So I just said my score is lower than your median.
I hate talking about the MCAT on your application, in your interviews. It is boring. It is boring. Every single person they're looking at has that story. Boring. Skip.
I agree. I agree. Well, and I mean, I'm not saying but obviously it all worked out for the
Sure.
student. I'm not saying that that was the wrong answer by any stretch. I think that was an honest answer in a really
Sure.
difficult situation for sure.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
I do think your answer does not have to be, first of all, it's definitely not your opportunity to over disclose.
No, 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 no. This is not the
No, no.
character fitness section.
Yeah, this is also not a confessional.
No.
Yeah,
But
we
you know
don't.
they're testing for that.
Hmm.
Are you going to confess something?
Yeah. Are you going to like totally overshare? And they're like, uh-oh, there's a maturity question here.
Hmm.
I have told this story so many times, but it's one of my favorite stories. It's so juicy. We had a med school applicant in an interview, not in response to a question, just because he learned that one of the doctors on his panel was a dermatologist, point his camera toward his groin and show a rash and ask what they thought about it. Yep,
Well, they thought he was not admitted to the med school
he was
for
not.
sure.
He was not. And I'm
Or
just
maybe
telling you
anywhere.
that some of the things that we talk about here sound like duh, but the reason we're talking about them is because we have seen the transgressions that elicited them.
Yep.
Speechless.
I know. I know. I can tell you more offline. Um, because it's even juicier than that.
Okay.
Not the
Did,
rash story.
did they diagnose him?
Absolutely not. I think they were like,
This
escape,
is not
escape, escape.
appropriate. Yeah.
No,
You
these are
should
not
probably go
your
get that checked out right now.
these are not
Interview's
your
done.
doctors. These are just doctors, and there's a difference. And you want to, again, I say this all the time. You want to come across as a colleague, not as
Right.
a patient, not as a student. You want to come across as someone who is colleague ready. And the best way to do that is just to be mature, to be honest. If you have done your work in your application, in your secondaries, this should be a breeze for you. There's going to be nerves. You should practice. But at the end of the day, if you've told the truth in your application, you can tell the truth in your interview. We're rooting for you. If you don't follow us on socials at grad_missions, we are about to do a little series. I had a red hot chili pepper fever last night or yesterday and sent Samantha a bunch of information about med school interviews. And so we're going to be rolling those out. Lots of good tips there. You could actually go back through the catalog of this podcast. We have talked about med school interviews over a couple of seasons now. And so you could go back and listen to that. If you have questions about the med school application process, this is the perfect time. It is August of 2026. If you want to start med school in the fall of 2028, it is time to get started. Your application opens in 9 months, and 9 months of building is going to change the trajectory of your med school acceptance. All right. Thanks for joining us, y'all. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.